Hello everyone, my name is Sniping is Fun, and today's video is going to be a Switch related video. A Switch related video talking about how I'm going to say it right here, right now, and it shouldn't be a big shocker to a lot of people out there, given what Nintendo has said, given what we see announced, given how much time we still technically have with the system, because they said the Switch is only halfway done. And given how successful it is, and given all this stuff that keeps getting announced day in, week in, out, and everything, I'm going to say right now, I think the Switch has still a lot to offer this generation. Nintendo brought out the Switch in 2017. They jumped out of 8th generation with the Wii U and this 3DS, combined their two markets together of handheld and console, created a hybrid with the Switch for 9th generation, and have sold over like 103 million units or whatever they're at now. I have no idea what the sales are at right now, but they're in like the top like 5-6 selling video game consoles of all time. The only ones that are above them are like the Game Boy, the DS, the PS4, I believe, the PS2. And I think about that. Yeah, I think it's number 5 or 6, but it has those systems above it. But the Switch, in my opinion, still has a lot to offer. Nintendo's not ready to jump into their 10th generation system yet, people. And I see people constantly online bashing like what the Switch has to offer, what it does and doesn't have, what it does and doesn't do, which Nintendo goes about their own way. Whether we like it or not, Nintendo has their ups and their downs. They do 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back, 3 steps forwards, 1 step back. It's sometimes Nintendo is more positive, sometimes they're more negative, sometimes they do good and sometimes they do bad. If you've been a Nintendo fan as long as I have, you would know how much they can do and how good they can be when they really try, and how they can be when they really don't. I've been with Nintendo since the Super Nintendo. I'm old. I know what they have and don't have, what they can and can't do when they actually put some effort in and try. But the Switch still has apparently 4 years left, I would say, because the Switch right now is about 5 years old. So about 4 to 5 years left. Nintendo, their 9th gen system, Switch is doing really good. There's still a lot of games that they still can bring out to it, and there's a good chunk of games for us to be looking forward to. And a lot of people discredit them, count them out. They need to jump into their next generation system now. Sony and Microsoft just started their 9th generation systems like a little over a year ago. Nintendo's been there since 2017, which I'll even go into say, and I've said this numerous times on Facebook and I think on Twitter and all this, probably on YouTube, I do think Nintendo jumped in earlier to 9th generation than they originally had planned. I think the Switch was supposed to come out in 2019. The Wii U was doing so bad, they probably couldn't survive only on the 3DS, so they combined the markets, jumped into 9th generation quickly, cut their losses, and jumped into their next system sooner than they probably expected or wanted to. And it's worked out for them in the long run. But people already want the next system, and Nintendo has constantly, over the last 2 years, said no. We're not. Switch is going to be longer than normal console generation. It's barely halfway done. Now it's halfway done. They got some time left in it. This and that. There's games announced constantly. People are like, how did that game get announced for the system? How did this game get announced for the system? How is this even potentially on the Switch? Is it cloud-based? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And there's different architectures they put in there, and these updates, and how the developers and like Nintendo or third parties use the hardware to transfer, import games over to their system. People. Right now, obviously Nintendo's working on their system. We're going to be seeing a successor to the Switch at some point in the future. It won't be next year, I'm sure. It won't be the year after. It won't be the year after that. I'm going to make the guess 2024 to 2025, 2026 at the latest. 2027 is really pushing it, but I'm going to say 2025 more likely into 2026. That gives us about 8 to 9 years for the Switch, which I think is a good time. And then they can make their 10th generation system at that point. They'd be done with 9th generation. And then Sony and Microsoft will join suit in probably 2028, 2029. So there's that. People, don't rush them when they obviously don't really want to be rushed. Right now, I think Nintendo needs to work with the Switch as much as they can. Because in case you don't remember, last generation and 8th generation was not good for Nintendo. They may have done really well with the 3DS. But they didn't do all that well with the Wii U. They need to use this generation as long as possible with how successful they are in 9th generation with the Switch and get as much out there as possible. Is it the best case scenario for them? Is it the best thing for them? No, not necessarily, but it is what's working for them, and it is technically good for gamers because we don't need new hardware just yet. I mean, there's stuff that they could easily do, and there's stuff that they should do, and I'm not going to deny that, like 4K and some of the outputs and the resolutions and whatnot. And I think that's coming. I really think with them stating that the Switch has about 4 to 5 years left in it, which is about what we're at now, so that's half the life, so that much more longer for the Switch. Do you honestly think they're going to go that long without at least 1 to 2 more Switch remodels? We just got the OLED last year. We had the Lite like 2 years ago. We got the Switch back in 2017, regular. That's 3 models of systems. You think, honestly, Nintendo, like most modern game systems, but especially Nintendo, in their hybrid system, which is half console, half handheld, half home console, half handheld console, is going to stop at 3 models and not bring out another model in the next 4 years? When like the 3DS and the DS both had like 5 models each. We're going to see more models, people. I really do think we're going to see an OLED style model that's TV exclusive, that updates the TV. That the people have been talking for years now about a dock that has higher resolution to the TV output. What if that's the case? What if we get a Switch model that has a stronger, freaking dock that can output to 4K? What if we get a Switch that's like the Lite, but opposite, where it's only a home console? Well, this is not a Switch. Neither is the Lite. It's only a handheld. So what if they do a Switch that's only console and has up hardware like the new 3DS, where games could be exclusive to that? Maybe not a lot of them, but like the new 3DS, where there were certain games that only could work on the new 3DS and couldn't work on any other model. Like, there's things they can do to up the Switch's hardware besides updates, and technically that has helped with a lot of games coming out in the last couple of years with their hardware updates. When you get updates, which has allowed them to make certain games get ported to the system. These games are coming. These updates are coming. They have ways of upgrading it, and years to fill. Let them work on this new system. Give it to us in 4 or 5 years, and give us 1 to 2 remodels of the Switch. Probably 1 next year, and probably 1 2025, and then release a new system in 2026. And then when Sony and Microsoft join suit in 10th generation 2 years later or so, everyone will be happy. I don't know, gamers, whatever. I'm just saying, like, people want to rush Nintendo. People want to jump the gun. People want to do this. People want to do that. They want Nintendo to do this. They want Nintendo to do that. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a bad thing. But Nintendo goes about their own way. And to be fair, whether you agree or disagree, and I have my own opinion on things about Nintendo that I like and things about Nintendo that I don't like, and that they can improve, I think they just need to ride this train. Keep getting games, because games are coming. That as gamers, that should be the main thing we want. Video games on our system. And when it comes to the Switch, Nintendo still has a bunch of games that are coming out this year and the next year. There's still a bunch of games they haven't announced yet. What if the Switch gets F-Zero? What if the Switch gets Wave Race? What if the Switch gets 1080 or Golden Sun or Elite Beat Agents or Excite Bike? There's other franchises they haven't brought to it. There's going to be a new Mario game probably eventually. There's going to be another Zelda game probably after... Probably Breath of the Wild 2, probably some ports. We're going to, obviously, I'm sure, get at least 1 more Fire Emblem on the Switch before they jump to their 10th gen system. It's not going to end with 3 houses. And I'm not talking about Warriors, because that's a Koei Tecmo game. It's a crossover Mushu game. I'm not counting that at all. I'm talking about Fire Emblem 18 at least will be on the Switch. Maybe 19 too, but I'm going to guarantee 18 will be on the Switch with how successful 3 Houses was. And then third parties. We're getting a bunch of third parties. They're already announced, and more get announced each day. Some of them are collections, some of them are HD remasters and remakes, but some of them are big new games. The new Lord of the Rings Golem game, coming to Switch. The new Dragon Ball Breakers game, coming to Switch. The new Hogwarts Legacy game is coming to Switch. River City Girls 2, River City Girls 0. We got the TMNT Strider's Revenge, TMNT the Cowabunga Collection, Portal Collection, the Ezio Collection from Assassin's Creed, Klonoa Collection, which I think I already said. Oh, I don't know. and like other things. 2 remakes of the first 2 front missions, Disney Speedsters. We're freaking I'm sure it's gonna get Rumbleverse and multiverses at some point. All those big free online games like Fortnite and freaking Spellbreak and like Rogue Company all come to Switch. Games are coming, people, this year, next year, the year after that, the year after that. Stuff that we're going to see announced at Nintendo Direct, stuff that we're going to see announced at future, E3s and big time things and online articles. Companies coming out, Nintendo coming out. Games are coming. Right now, the first thing we need to be worried about as gamers is that games are coming. The hardware is going to come eventually anyways. In about 4 or so years, we're going to get the successor. Enjoy the Switch while we have it. Don't force them to jump into a generation that also the other 2 aren't even ready to jump into yet. And yes, the Switch is a 9th generation system. It's the successor to 2 8th generation systems. 9 comes after 8. And the Switch, how successful it is, you think Nintendo, honestly, from a business perspective, us as gamers, we need to look at also from sometimes a business perspective. They're making loads of cash with the freaking Switch. Games are selling, systems are selling. And they can make a lot more money when they do 1 or 2 remodels like the DS and the 3DS and whatnot, and the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. All of them got like 2 remodels or whatever. Games are coming, remodels are coming, systems is going to eventually come. They're going to have a successor. It's coming whether we want it to or not, but they already said the Switch has like halfway done. People, we are going to get in our system. But right now, let's enjoy the Switch for what it is. And they're getting loads of games. Could it be better? Yes. Is there certain games that it's missing from Nintendo and from third parties that's a detriment and I would say is a problem? Sure, maybe. I don't know. But games are coming. We are getting games, which is probably the most important thing. And we have loads of years to fill the gaps. And there's a lot of third-party companies that are starting to be willing to work with Nintendo. And we're seeing stuff that a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't expect that to come to Switch. And guess what? That can continue happening. Oh, I didn't expect Nintendo to bring that franchise back. It's going to keep happening. We're going to see it, I'm sure. But we have to let them do it sometimes. We have to speak up, obviously, because Nintendo is stupid. Like Sony, Microsoft, all 3 of these companies do goddamn stupid things. And we have to speak up sometimes. But when they do something that's good, let them hear it. Tell them that they're doing good and that what you want to see. Instead of forcing them and attacking them, tell them what you want to see, but tell them what you currently like and tell them where they can improve. But don't be a dick about it. Don't be an asshole about it. The Switch has a lot to still give us. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of stuff for the Switch still to give us. And we can't just burn the flame out that quick. Nintendo has a giant-ass flame on their plate right now. They're making lots of money. And I'm sure they're business-wise going to want to keep that train rolling as long as they humanly possibly can, which is probably why, given how Wii U did, they want their 9th generation system to last as long as possible, which is why it's a longer generation than normal. And they stated this back in 2020. A normal generation is about 5 to 6 years. The way they're apparently going for it, they're going to have the Switch last 8 to 9 with probably 4 to 5 remodels, 4 to 5 models. The original Switch, the Lite, the OLED, and 1 to 2 more, I'm sure, are coming. A probably console exclusive Switch and an OLED that's probably upgraded on TV mode. I'm sure we're going to get it. I'm sure they're going to do it because they've done it with countless other systems: the 3DS, the DS, the Wii, the Game Boy, the Game Boy Advance. The Super Nintendo got like 1 remodel. The NES got like 1 or 2 remodels. Nintendo's known for it, just like Sony and Microsoft are doing it. There's like that rumored Switch Pro. It's probably going to come and probably be with a 4K dock and probably be with upgraded hardware. You don't know yet, but you can't rush them. They'll do it when they see fit. And sometimes that's a bad thing because Nintendo's slow sometimes. But Sony and Microsoft also can be very slow with a lot of things too. That's just the way companies work. Sometimes they do good things. Sometimes they do stupid ass things. They're morons. But with that being said, I don't know, people. I'm just saying, enjoy the Switch as it is. In my opinion, it's still the 9th generation system that I most look forward to games on. It's the only one right now that I can get physical games on because my Xbox Series S is, S. It's digital only, so it's the only game I like system this generation that I like collecting games on. I haven't got myself a PS5 yet, so right now in 9th generation, I'm Switch and I'm Xbox Series S, and I love buying games on Switch, and I love looking forward to games on Switch. That's why I want to see more games come to Switch, and we have loads of years to fill up, people. Let's just enjoy them and and hope for the best with more games coming. And it seems like a lot of third parties are waking up. Some are really goddamn stupid and probably won't ever. And there's a lot of games that haven't come to the Switch that I still question to this day why they're not on it yet. And there's some that have come to it that I'm like, oh my god, that came to it before stuff that I expected. So the Switch still has a lot to offer people. Just let it run its course. And then when we see the 10th generation system in like 2025, 2026, after you get your Switch Pro in 2023, we'll see their next system. But we got Nintendo games coming, and they still have a lot more to announce. We have a lot of third-party games coming. There's a lot more to announce. Let it run its course and enjoy it for what it is now. And then we'll see what Nintendo has in the future. But when you have your pros and your cons and your ups and your downs, and you have stuff to say it, but don't be a dick. But at the same time, criticism is a good thing, and Nintendo sometimes needs to be a nice smack on the face. Sony and Microsoft do it a lot. Sony woke up with a lot of their stupid stuff in PS3. They're kind of waking up a little bit with PS5 problems they have now. Xbox definitely woke up during that Xbox One thing with, oh, you need to have the disc, and you need to do this, and the online, whatever they had to do to pay to, you couldn't have used games. Companies sometimes need to get smacked in the face to realize some stupid things they do. But Nintendo right now is in a place where I think they need that, but also they don't. And I do think there's potential there for them to continue doing good. But we should only speak up when it's necessary. And right now, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. And I think a lot of gamers out there just want to rush Nintendo into the next big thing when they're not ready for it. And I don't even think we're ready for it. Like when a new system starts, you have to. It's a slow build up. The Switch right now is years in the making and build up, and it's still going strong. Wait for it to slow down. Like a company should not be releasing their next system to hurt the sales of their current one. And when it's currently in its massive run, and sales are not slowing down, you wait till they start slowing down to when you start building up to their next generation system. And for 9th generation, the Switch is going strong right now. So people, just enjoy the Switch for what it is right now. We're going to get more with it, and there's going to be times we have to tell Nintendo to get their act together, because sometimes they're really dumb. But all of the companies do that. We've had to say that to Sony and Microsoft countless times over the years, just like Nintendo. So those other two systems just entered the next generation. Nintendo's been there since 2017. They are not ready for the next system yet, but obviously they're working on it because they always work on it. All these companies always, when their new system comes out, they always are starting to work on the next one. So they already have a plan in mind for the Switch successor in 10th generation. But we're not going to be knowing that for a couple more years, and they obviously have plans for the Switch to last longer. And this is kind of like an NES generation. The NES lasted like 7-8 years. The Switch is lining itself up to be about 8 years, 9 years. That's about the same length. And really, as much as I thought you would think the Wii was the next NES, I think the Switch is probably the real next NES. Because back in the day, we always thought, oh, the Wii's the next NES and the Wii U would be the next Super Nintendo. Wrong. The Wii U, as much as I actually like the system, I think it really got underutilized and marketed poorly. I think the Switch is the next NES, so if that correlation comes to be true, their next system in 10th generation is going to be the next Super Nintendo, and they will be kicking goddamn ass. So Switch is here to stay for a while. There's a lot of stuff we know about it. I literally did a list on Facebook of 47 games since the beginning of this year into now, and a couple of them have released, like Chocobo GP and Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires and Triangle Strategy and whatnot, and the new Kirby game. But there's a lot of games, and these are games for this year into next year, and that list is ever growing. The new Hollow Knight Swan Song is coming out. There's freaking oh my god, people, there's so many games coming out to Switch right now, and I'm looking forward to a lot of them. So let's let it run its course. Let's let it go. Speak up only when needed. Ask them for certain games. Talk to certain developers about getting certain games on the system. But the Switch has a lot to offer right now, and it's not slowing down. It's not stopping, and we should let it run its course before we want the next big thing, which Nintendo has stated numerous times since 2020 what they plan on doing, and a lot of gamers seem to be, I can't hear you, I want another system too, but I could wait a while. This generation, Switch is doing just fine. So let it run its course, and we'll see what games come out in the future, and let's enjoy it. Whether Nintendo fans or not, whoever buys the system, it's going strong, and let's let it just give us more games. My name is Sniper's Fun. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day. I'll see you later in the next video. Bye, everyone.